At number 55 on the iconic 100 list is the Oscar Robertson 1961 Fleer card, one of the most recognizable cards from one of the most recognizable of all vintage basketball sets. And here today to talk to us about it, we have Nate in Cardboard Veritas on Instagram. Nate, I know that you were really close on your ranking on this card as to where it ended up on the total list. Talk a little bit about why you had it where you had it, and what you think about it.
Yeah, no, I think that feels right around right to me, and in that range, and meaning that it's an incredibly important card, of all those that we've had, to achieve that level is pretty significant. And for me, it's up there for a lot of reasons. First of all, the 1961 Fleer set, if I had to pick one, would be my favorite basketball set of all time. I just absolutely love that set. It's incredible in terms of the the aesthetics. The Oscar card is a great example of that. Just beautiful kind of orange and red background with a great portrait photo of him. It's just full of Hall of Famers and rookie cards. That with many of them, you have not only their portrait, but also their in action card, which in a lot of cases is a really neat card as well. Mm-hmm. So I adore that set. I love the vibrant colors that it has. I love the rookie cards, and it's one of, I think, what's considered kind of the big three rookies from the set, along with Wilt and Jerry West. So, for those reasons from a card standpoint, and then, Oscar is, as one of the first truly great point guards, Mr. Triple Double, kind of was one of those people that sort of helped to, push the game forward. He was one of the first big guards, first guard that could rebound like that, a forerunner to Magic Johnson and, some of the other people that we've seen come through since. So he was super significant as a player. I think the set is great. The card is beautiful. So it belongs on the list, no doubt about it.
It just has so many things going for it. I agree. But you talk about the aesthetics of the 61 Fleer set. This is something that Kevin from Black Griffin Cards, from Basketball Card Fanatic, has really pointed out, and he wrote about this set in one of our earlier issues. This is one of those sets that I think, if you look at printing, you look at art, you look at anything that comes from the early, the 50s, the 60s, the early era of basketball cards, the set really does stand out. It is the way that it's designed, the way that the colors are used, the little characters that they use on the cards. There's so much about this set that if you or to take some time to really study the whole set, just got an incredible amount going for it. And I was concerned that this Oscar wasn't going to make it. I thought, I wonder if other people feel the same way that I do. But what's clear as we count down these 100 cards, is that basketball's taken a hold a lot more than we would have seen 5 or 10 years ago, right? The number of basketball cards and baseball cards on the whole, the list is pretty comparable. And I don't think we would have said that a few years ago. I think we would have had a lot more on baseball. But baseball has so many options of cards that are iconic, whereas basketball really doesn't, right? Like, it really starts in the 40s. You've got one card from the 40s that people consider iconic. And then from the 57 set, you've got really not very many. You've got the Russell, and then you've got a couple others that some people might recognize. It's not until the 61 set where you get multiple big time, I guess 57, you also have the Bob Cousy, but 61, you've got 4 really great stars that make the list. The 3 that you mentioned, and then I would just throw in, Elgin Baylor into that as well. But then you have other guys too. It's like, where do you stop? The 61 Fleer basketball set is a seminal basketball set, and Oscar's, on pretty much everybody who's well thought out. He's on their all-time top 15 list. It's his only rookie card. And then I think his last card, if I remember right, you'll have to correct me if you know, I think his last card's in 1974 tops. Yeah. He just doesn't have a lot of cards. And so this is really his only really recognizable and iconic card, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. Yeah, and it's, it's a good point you make about basketball card appearances on the list too. And there just are a lot less really iconic vintage basketball cards in particular. And one way to think about that is if you were going to ask a group of collectors to come up with their top 10 vintage basketball cards and ask a group to come up with their top 10 vintage baseball cards, I think you would have a lot more overlap on the basketball. It's almost like there's a clear top 10 or 15 when you think about basketball. Baseball could be all over the place because, as you said, there's 100 or hundreds of options. But yeah, with basketball, kind of being a newer game and the production of basketball cards being newer and some of the big gaps in set making in the early years, there just are not that many cards. But it is good to see those that are out there more and more kind of attaining that iconic status.
Yeah, I think that's extremely well said. If I remember right, you have a little countdown of the greatest basketball cards of the era. Like I think you called it something like the best basketball cards of the vintage age or something like that. Do you remember where you had Oscar on your list?
I don't. I did that one a little while ago, but I believe probably I want to say I would very likely have that one in the 5 or 6 range.
Okay.
If we're limiting it to just vintage basketball, so pretty high on the list.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Nate, thank you again for walking us through the 1961 Fleer Oscar Robertson card number 55 on the iconic 100 list. Next time we'll hit card number 54. And until then, happy collecting.